Welcome to the Gyrl Podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. Whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's glow up together. All right, so happy Thursday, my friends. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic week. We are going to be talking about personal growth today, and we're going to be talking about transforming fear of rejection into confidence. Probably something we all could be better at, right? So I'm going to have Ivana Ivanek here shortly, who is going to walk us through just how to do that. So why don't we go ahead and welcome her on into the podcast? All right, let's welcome Ivana to the show. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's been a while since we tried to connect. Finally, we found that perfect slot, the day, the time to have this meaningful conversation together.
Exactly. Yes. Well, why don't you get started by having our audience listening or watching out there by telling them who you are and what you do?
My pleasure. What I do, I help folks who have this internal calling that says you are meant for more. I help people share their important message with the world. I help them monetize their intellectual property and not only help them build a business that makes money, but also impact. And with that, they can create an extraordinary life that I personally believe everybody deserves to live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And that is so true and so needed, right? So one thing I want to talk to you about today, what we want to talk about is really something that we all deal with, and it is a fear, but it's a fear of two things. It's like judgment and rejection are things that always, especially when you're, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or a professional or just an everyday person living, you're going to experience that. Um, when did you discover that fear of judgment? I know it sounds simple, but like when did fear of judgment become like a threat to people's dreams?
Absolutely, you're right, Kyra. You said it sounds simple, but it sounds simple because we have just acknowledged it and we took it as the most normal thing to feel and not to do nothing about it. Because, as you say, I have been now traveling so many countries and observing since over a decade and having conversations all over the globe with people from different walks of life.
Mhm.
And every time I dare to ask, and this is the data I'm collecting all over the world, like, what's your dream? And then you see this spark in people's eyes, and they tell you the entire story, what they rather be want to be doing than they are actually doing, how they see living their lives, who they want to be with, the work they want to do, the books they want to write, the vacations they want to go on, and there is literally no limit.
Right.
And then comes the moment where I ask, yeah, but why don't you do it?
Mhm.
And the answer is often, I don't know how. But when I dig deeper into conversations and when people are allowed to have a conversation in depth, more meaningful, I realized actually that the underlying cause is, but what will people think of me if I do something different than the norm?
Mm.
Then what we learned, then what if I do something differently than my parents wanted me to do? What if I do something differently than my whole neighborhood is doing, my culture, entire communities? So I noticed that very early,
Yeah.
very, very early. I was in my teens or perhaps even younger when I realized I had a sense of what am I even doing here? Why I'm doing this?
Mhm.
One moment I can truly recall was sitting in school questioning why I needed to know everything about the amoeba virus and how it spreads in a human body.
Mhm.
Nobody could explain to me how Beyonce formed her band's Destiny's Child being only 9 years old. So I had those questions. I wanted to know, how do people make you know, those lives that we watch on TV?
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
cool stuff they are doing all the time. And I had just had this, I was told that this is not for you. This is not how we do it. It's too
Mhm.
risky. It's too dangerous. What will
Mhm.
your grandparents say? And every time I came up with something entrepreneurial, and I have to say, I do understand my parents today, because when I put out the dream that I want to live by the ocean, travel the world, do meaningful as someone who helps people and want to be famous, I understand that my parents at the time thought, like, you know what, you little dreamer, you better go
Mm.
to school. And they were questioning me, how you gonna pay your bills?
Right.
So everything I got back from that curiosity I was putting out there, the ambitions, was
Mhm.
silenced in a way that was, loving and caring parents. I'm from an immigrant background. So my path to pave the corporate ladder was paved, but I never really aligned with it. So I had to really swim against that huge river, against this huge flow, and find my way through of not feeling unworthy, not feeling too much,
Mhm.
not feeling ungrateful for what my parents have done for me, because they've been hustling hard to ensure that I have education and stability.
Mhm. Mhm. But I think that, I mean, everything that you said, it just is so true in why people decide not to follow a dream, or it also could lead someone to put that dream, like, on the shelf, right? Like, just say, "Well, I don't think I can do it," because, like, even you mentioned, like, your parents saying "Go to school." Like, you have this dream, but go to school. The great thing is that you probably went to school, but then you still pick that dream back up off the shelf, and a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just say, "Okay, well, they were right. I'm gonna go to school," and then they end up down this path that they don't want to be on, which is like to do a job that get a career that they don't like. And then meanwhile, in the background, like they still have this like gnawing like passion at them, calling them for their purpose, right?
I always say, you know what, like that calling. I believe that everybody has a purpose and a calling. It just
Mhm.
depends. I mean, some people are called to work in corporate.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
should be grateful we have them so we can do
Mhm.
our thing, right? So
Mhm.
everybody feels their calling. Everybody knows, like internally, we know what we are meant for doing. Some things are a little controversial. Not everybody can be a trailblazer or wants to be a trailblazer, and that's
Mhm.
fine. And most of the time, it hits those people who have those big visions that society can't grasp quite.
Mhm. Yeah.
Visions that you yourself can't even, like, really have the feeling that you can touch it right now, but it's right there. And I always say that this calling will never disappear. You can put your dream on a shelf.
Mhm.
You can have it going like dusty there. You can, there are times when we forget in times of adversity, times of good waves in life where other things are
Mhm.
happening where we like don't feel and the need to create change in life necessarily.
Mhm.
But most of people, what I have experienced, just say there's this thing of saying, like, I don't know how.
Mhm.
I'm afraid to fail. And I don't
Mhm.
know how to start. What is it? Like, is this even available to me?
Mhm. Yeah.
Who to talk to?
Yeah.
What to do at all to get there? Because it just seems so big and so
Mhm.
intimidating.
Mhm.
I always like to give um this picture of someone, like if you see a boulevard in the dark, like it's pitch dark,
Mhm.
and it's a very innovative country, so they have those street lights that only go on when you walk by
Mhm. Mhm.
to not to waste energy. So you need to make those little steps so the
Mhm.
lights go on, right? But if we just stay at the beginning of the boulevard and stare in the dark, it will become scarier and more daunting. And I think this is often what people see. They see maybe the big picture and they'll be like, oh my God, how I'm
Mhm.
supposed to do this.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is very true. A couple things you said that really just I want to like just circle back to really quickly. I love that you said that, everybody has a purpose, right? And there are people who have been purposely called to work in corporate jobs. Obviously I'm a corporate warrior by day and, this business at night. And I understand that. And I think a lot of times like I have to tell myself sometimes because I'm like, how? Like, wow, how could you just be okay with working for somebody else for the rest of your life? But then I have to tell I have had to just stop myself and say, "You know what? That's not their calling." Like, maybe that's just not they're okay. Like, they are passionate about the thing that they get to do here every day. And I'm like, yeah, because I like a lot of times like, well, I like what I do. Like, I like my job, but it's just I have a bigger dream. Like, there's something that's almost it's like nagging at you because you can't, even when I've just tried to be like, okay, I'll just work in corporate. I have a good job. I have a good career. Like, I'll just work in corporate. It's always like in the background, like, no, but you don't want to just do that. You want to do this thing here that drives you, helps you to help others, helps you to have impact in a different way. That's not just like, oh, yeah, we sold a lot of products and made a lot of money.
Absolutely. You're touching on something very important here because often when we speak about making those decisions, corporate, entrepreneur journey, what are we supposed to be doing? It's not
Mhm.
always red or blue.
Mhm.
It's not black or white.
Yeah.
We don't have to necessarily drop everything and pivot into something that we don't even know what it is. So there are steps indeed, and you can literally have both too. There are so many people who do work in
Mhm.
corporate
Mhm.
and do something very meaningful aside. Maybe they're doing philanthropically. They have projects running in the background. They have podcasts. They monetize their
Mhm.
intellectual property in so many different ways, and that's
Mhm.
all okay. I think it all depends on the lifestyle you want to live. And I'm not
Right.
saying that everybody wants to go on an entrepreneur journey, drop your corporate job, drop your, 5 to 9.
Exactly.
Please don't, because we still need to pay our bills.
But don't do it.
It's scary. I think, I mean, I've done that. I've done that twice in my life already.
Mhm.
And but I knew the risk I'm taking. Yes, I
Mhm.
made debt. Yes, but
Mhm.
I was so ready for this. I
Mhm.
knew what's gonna come. And I just needed to make sure that I'm gonna prevent myself from sleepless nights. And
Mhm.
I know that not everyone has the tool, the resources, the knowledge, and the capacity to do so.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that we will never be able to make the full transition from corporate into entrepreneurship if you want to. But
Mhm.
I think we grow into
Right.
that person we need to be to
Yeah.
one day you will be sitting there and be like, okay, I'm ready. And I'm going to look at
Mhm.
the how.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. And it's also like you said, it's just making the small steps. Like I just love that. I could see that as you were, describing it. Like, yeah, it's just make one step, do a thing. Like if you work during the day, set aside time. Like what I learned to do was like set aside time. Give yourself time for rest because even when you're doing something that you're passionate about and you love, you can still burn out from that too, especially if you're working like a day job and then trying to just like determine like, what days where I landed is like what days of the week can I work after like work. And then but then it forces you to be even more focused on like what are the most important things for me to do to move the needle versus just trying to do all the things? Because then I think about a lot of times, I'm like, you know what? It's really good that I'm like working a job and trying to do this because I would be doing because you get so many ideas. Just like you said, when people are like dreamers have an idea a minute almost, and then you want to do everything. But in reality, you just need to focus on the things that are, if you do desire to transition full time, to do the things that are going to help you like put sustainable growth for your business, sustainable money coming in, so that you can then walk away.
Absolutely, you're nailing this, Cara. I totally agree here. And it's all these things you're mentioning, those important things that move the needle, as you said,
Mhm.
are those things that scare people the most. What are people gonna think of me? There is the fear of rejection. There are those, I'm not gonna pitch, I'm not gonna sell, I'm not gonna put myself out there, I'm not gonna put those
Yeah.
things out there, I'm not gonna do nothing of it. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna be in the background, play with Canva, branding colors, all there's so many things we can do. And honestly, it
Yeah.
feels important at that time. And I do
Mhm.
agree there is something in us that wants us to have this, structured.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
some sort of structured thing. We want to know what fonts we use, what colors we use, but I tell folks always, go do it. Give
Mhm.
yourself 20 minutes and then we are done. If you haven't made a decision,
Mhm.
then it's over, then we go without. But don't go ask your grandparents, don't go ask your parents, don't go ask your friends, because all you will get is, advice you shouldn't be asking for. And that's just like something very small here, like I just mentioning those branding colors. But there is so much we can do that
Right.
doesn't get us nowhere, because the hard part is the part that moves the needle, and that's the
Yeah.
we need to put ourselves out there. We need to have those conversations. Well,
Yeah.
people need to know we exist so we
Yes.
can actually find the people who want our work. And that's the thing where, yeah, we over.
I love that, Ivana, because that is it's so true. I mean, because we all do it. We all, like, when you're starting something, you're not hiding behind the thing, like you said, like the branding, like the building out things. But the one thing that you need to do is you have to start finding a way to get yourself out there. And like you mentioned, I mean, one of the things, like I've talked about this year on the podcast is that, like, I've been working harder at affirming myself, like, as a person who affirms other people all the time. I was like, huh, I need to affirm myself. And also, one of my love languages is words of affirmation. So, like, right here on my computer, I have, like, I will not let the fear of being seen hold me back from my dreams. Because a lot of times it's very easy to just, like, be doing a lot, all the good things, but you forget to, I mean, you forget to put yourself out there, in order for people to know who is doing the good thing. What's the story behind the person who's doing the good thing? And I think, like, I can raise my hand and say it, like, yeah, sometimes it's hard, even though don't be fooled because I'm hosting this podcast, but there and this is a comfortable space for me, a safe space for me. But sometimes when I'm talking about, like, other things in the business, like, before, when I first started, it wasn't easy, but doing the podcast has helped me, to open up more and become more comfortable with, like, putting myself out there, in order to put my business in the forefront. So I love that you said that. So the other thing is, right, so when we're talking about sort of getting to the full potential for ourselves, it's the external noise. Because at first we were taught, like, we know we've got that in that negative self-talk or that internal talk that holds us down, but what about that external noise that's out there?
Yeah, well, I want to mention here that social media is so full of it, of this internal self-talk and those limiting beliefs. And it
Mhm.
feels like almost everything is on you. It's your fault that you are thinking this way. It's your fault that you are, pretending. It's your fault that you are do things in a certain way. The truth is, it's often hard to let go of those limiting beliefs that we have. It's not a lie, because we do have them. We all have them, and they always appear differently on different levels. I don't think that we will ever have that confidence and be like, I don't fear nothing anymore. That will
Right.
exist, right?
Yeah.
But there is tools we will get along the way to deal differently with discomfort and with our limiting beliefs as we grow into the person we need to be to succeed. So, what I always like to teach is that people need to understand that all those limiting beliefs are inherited. We are taught, especially we women, we are taught to, to be small, not to be too loud, not to wear too short shorts, not to sing too much, not to scream too much. And that starts on a very early age. And then comes the digital space telling you that you need to be louder, you need to be more visible. And then we have that conflict. What I always like to say, what we need to understand is that society will always exist. We will always be embedded into a community. And may it be just your friends and family, may it be a close community. Some people have bigger networks. And it doesn't matter where you come from. You will always encounter three type of people.
Mhm.
There will be the those who will be giving you advice you didn't ask for,
Mhm.
telling you that it's too risky, that it's too much, that you shouldn't be doing it. Aren't you too old? Shouldn't you be focusing on marriage, on children? Shouldn't you be doing this? Shouldn't you be doing that? Simply that every question that seems somewhat caring but leaves you behind feeling unworthy and less
Mhm.
off.
Mhm.
I always look at this as trying not to judge
Right.
in the first place, but then I always look at it and be like, okay, I need to understand here one thing. That might be envy, that might be jealousy, that
Mhm.
you are even thinking about. moving into a direction where other people can't. Those are the people who don't understand your vision. And I always try to simply redirect my energy, answer kindly, and walk away from that space. And I mean walk away.
Yeah.
That sounds hard. If this is your friend, yes, I have to say and admit myself that I've lost what I thought are good friends too by just growing into the person I am and living the lifestyle I want to live and creating the change in the world that I want to see. The second part of the people who will not drop you just as easily because it's family, and family we can't always choose. They will be giving you advice too, because I think it's the hardest part for parents or caregivers to see their little ones, even if we are old enough by now, suffer from the pain of shattered dreams. No parent would allow that. So, like me, coming from an immigrant background, we didn't have entrepreneurs in my family. Whatever I have done in my life scared my mother to death. And all my mother wanted is to protect me from it because she didn't want to see me fail. She didn't want to see people laugh at me. She didn't want to see people, you know, telling things that, your daughter is doing that. Look at her. She's on Instagram and things. These are they do not understand. They will always try to protect you. But what we need to understand here is it's caring love. And we need to understand or try to understand having those conversations and see where this comes from. Once you know that, you will have such an easier time to move forward because you can respectfully have different conversations on the dinner table with them. And then number 3 of people are those like you and me, the people who are walking the walk, people who are where you want to be. And this is where you should be going and seeking advice, seeking help, go and vent, because someone who cannot understand your vision is not interested in the behind the scene hardship. No one cares about the wine and that you didn't drink and the parties you didn't celebrate in pursuit of your big dream. They will tell you to turn around and do what they do because this seems easier because they have the time to drink on the weekends. They have, and all the things they do. So if we can dissect those 3 segments and understand really where people come from, we will understand that we don't have to resent everyone who is not supporting us, but we can create different communities where we find that support for the growth and who can accommodate our needs at that time.
I think I'm so glad that you talked about that because I think that's really important because I feel like a lot of times when people start businesses or, go out on that journey, they want everybody to, or they think everybody will feel the exact same way they feel. Like you mentioned, if it's like, especially in that family component, the family and friends group, it's like, oh yeah, like, because I'll admit, even when I first like started my podcast, like I wanted everybody to listen. And then, and then I would be annoyed when people, well, first of all, I would be annoyed. Like it was okay, like if you didn't listen, but I would hate when people would say, oh, I have to get caught up on that. Like I was gonna get, I'm like, look, it's totally fine. You don't have to say that every time you see me. Like doesn't have to be the basis of like the conversation is that you're like that moonwalking out of like telling me that you're gonna listen, but you haven't yet. So, and what I eventually got to, and I said this to someone, I said, look, I'm not creating it for you. I didn't create it for you. I'm not creating the content for you. If you decide to listen and you get something out of it, fantastic. But I created it for a specific group of people who are going to find it and are going to listen to it. And they will 9 out of 10 times not even be people that I know personally. And
And that's the
so,
goal.
yeah, yeah, this, yeah. So it's like, let's just do that because you see people a lot of times, especially when people are like selling things, their product, and then, yeah, you may start with your family buying things, but your family and friends are not going to be your repeat customers. Like you can't sustain a business based on your friends like and family buying from you. And I think sometimes people don't get, no, you gotta reach out and find seek new people, new customers.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think it causes suffering.
Yes.
We are not aware that if we want to overshare to our family, we cause suffering both ways. What I always do, and you said you get, you are told that, I'm going to catch up on your podcast. When I go to my family, I'm living in the Caribbean, so I don't see them too often. But whenever I go to Europe and visit or there, at mine, they say, "How is business going?" Or even better, "How is Instagram going?" And I'm like, "What's going? Where is it going? Like, what do you mean?" And I think the question is only they want to know is like, "Are you okay? Can you pay your bills?" I think this is
Right.
the question they want to ask.
Mhm. Mhm.
And having noticed that I just whatever it is, whether I failed the launch, whether I made bank, whether I was successful, whether something went astray, I always tell them it's going great, but tell me, how was your day at work? It's an absolute game changer, and I truly mean it because I think when you take leadership also as we are leaders if we are trailblazers, if we are paving paths forward for people following our
Mhm.
footsteps. And I think it's not lying, it's a version of taking responsibility for someone who might be worried or experience
Mhm.
emotional pain otherwise.
Mhm.
And I think this
Mhm.
is the attitude we need to have to understand that there is no space for explanation
Mhm.
because they will never understand. They need to see. Like
Mhm.
words don't hold the power to create the change we want to see.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mm. I like that. So what steps did you take personally, to overcome, some of the stuff we've talked about?
Many, but I'm gonna give you four in this in this conversation. So first of all, clarity. Seek clarity. Don't be afraid to state what you want to be doing and to
Mhm.
commit to it, because
Mhm.
clarity is your confidence. If
Mhm.
you know where you want to be going, you will have the resources and the ability to actually move towards it. The second thing is understanding and acknowledging and being okay not to be everyone's cup of tea.
Mhm. Mhm.
You cannot, like, honestly, and what has helped me so much is that I always ask myself, is this person I'm asking for advice or explaining myself where I want to be? Is this someone I'm looking up to in any area of life, not just business, but may it be health, may it be relationships, may it be free time activities, right?
Mhm.
I always be like, is this the person that inspires me? Then I'll go there and have the conversation. If not, then we can have different conversations, but it doesn't have to concern my life and my decisions I make in life.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
can have small talk, we can go hiking, it's gonna be just as fun, but we can stay, a little bit less depth.
Yes.
And I understood the community factor, joining communities, that not be afraid to ask questions, not to be
Mhm.
afraid of being the person who doesn't know,
Mhm.
because this is going to clarify your how. My DMs on Instagram are open for questions, and I'm celebrating every single person who comes in there and asks a question. And I'll be there to answer it for you because this is what got me here. Asking questions to people that are where I wanted to be and
Mhm.
beyond. Sometimes if you go, like far beyond, if you reach out to someone where there's zero connection, you might not get an answer. I always encourage people to try a second time
Mhm.
at work,
Mhm.
because everybody who has their heart in the right place or the people who are very successful, they will never let you down because
Mhm.
it's their intention to see you there too.
Mhm. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And number four is that I learned that if I bring my message to the world,
Mhm.
I do not have to be offensive. I don't have to be extra controversial. I don't have to harm anyone. I
Mhm.
just, if it's no matter what message, effectively communicated, doesn't cause harm, but it makes people think differently.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
I like that.
knowing that and having always carrying this with me, that I know that I'm not harming anyone with what I say,
Mhm.
with what I do, gives me again so much more confidence to move forward when things are hard or when
Mhm.
somebody says like you're not gonna make it. I said, watch me.
Yes, those are great. Those 4 things are great. I really love that you said this, is that accepting that you're not everybody's cup of tea, because I feel like a lot of people, like, struggle, and I always say this, like, I can't be all things to all people, and I'm not going to try and be, like, you will find the community, or the community will find you. When you start to speak and you start to go through your message, like you mentioned, people will find you. And it's like, because if you're just out there saying like you want to be everybody, that means you're just trying to be like you want to just be famous, right? Like I was having this matter of fact having a similar discussion with someone yesterday on the episode where I said, it's about impact. Like you want to impact the right people and have impact that helps other people. Not It's not about like, oh, I'm just trying to, oh, I got to grow my following. I gotta get all these people. Like you have a small, and I always tell people, you have a small community on social media and they're engaging with you and they're a small community. I mean, but you could have a bunch of people and they never talk. They never take any action. They just, so I'm like, so just you have to kind of go into it, like you said, with a mindset of like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what is the impact that you want to have? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Is sort of like where I get to. So I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it's one person at a time.
Yep.
When you're starting out, like nobody is capable of dealing with huge audiences. Like you need systems for that. So let's start with those 300.
Yeah, and grow. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ivana, can you please tell us about your free workshop, how to stop playing small with your potential and achieve anything? And I'd love to hear about like, because a lot of us, play small for a really long time. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. It's a 20-minute audio, but it's not less of a value just because it's too short, because correctly done, you will be sitting days on this and you can re-listen every time you go, because there are a couple of questions that will make you think. And the goal is to establish where you are,
Mhm.
where you want to be, and to fill that gap.
Mhm.
We are doing this in business. It's called a gap analysis. So you want to be in business like you are at one point, you want to go somewhere, and then you look at, okay, what do we have? What do we need? And what do we need to still do, make, or create in order to get there? This
Mhm.
works perfectly in life,
Mhm.
especially when you are about to make life decisions. If you are fed up with something, you need to create change, you need to go in a different direction. This workshop is applicable to almost every situation that
Mhm.
guides you through possibilities and
Mhm.
through your how and the next step.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I just want to put out there, don't be afraid to go there, because often those worksheets, audio trainings are being downloaded and then put to the side
Mhm.
or not done correctly, because we always say, "Ah, I know that. I already know that."
Mhm.
If you look, if you look closely and if you be, kind to yourself and honest to yourself, go and finish it.
Mhm.
Dedicate it the time, commit to finishing that one worksheet, because it will change everything for you. The way
Mhm.
you look at yourself, the way you look at society, and the way you look at your possibilities, and you will uncover things that you haven't thought are possible, available, or, existing. You will call them into existence by thinking about them. And it's nothing with manifestation. It's very radical and practical.
Awesome. Now tell everybody where they can find that and how they can connect to you.
Absolutely. It's on my website under resources. You will find them. You can go download it there directly. I hang out on Instagram. I love Instagram. Ivana Ivanek underscore. The I sit there in the DMs. You can ask me questions, whatever is on your mind, and you feel like connecting, please go ahead. Also, if you have listened to the full conversation here and you said, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to build a personal brand on my website, as you end up there, one scroll, you can directly book a call with me and see how we can be of support to each other, and how, if my modalities are applicable to your wishes, to your vision, to your goals.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. We'll also drop the links in the show notes. All
Thank
right, so we are going to go to three things with Ivana. I'm going to ask you three more questions that helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. All right, the first one is a two-parter. It is, how do you start and end the day?
Oh my God. I used to be a 5 a.m. club, but I'm no
Mhm.
longer. It just has changed. I love sleeping in a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And what I do, I get up, I go to the bathroom, I grab a glass or two of water, make my
Mhm.
coffee, and then I go sit on my balcony, and sometimes even for an hour straight, and stare at the ocean.
Nice.
This is cherishing my biggest dream that I wanted to achieve. And I
Mhm.
just love my slow mornings. It's a
Awesome.
privilege to have that.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
That's so
And evenings are different. Like here in the Caribbean, it gets dark so early. Like it's 7:15. Like it's pitch dark. I live very remote. There is not a lot to do. So if you want to go out, we need to go to the city. But usually 8:30, I get ready to for bed. And what I always try to do is to not watch reels, phone, or do anything on, digital devices at least an hour before I go to bed.
Mhm.
As we are moving into the digital era, we also need to teach ourselves how to navigate
Mhm.
digitalization. And I think this is one of the things that I really care for my mental health. Other than that, there is no big major evening plans. If I have big days ahead, I do look at my schedule, but rarely.
All right. Second, tell us about your podcast.
Mm. Oh my God, I created Online Business by Design, crying, recording the intro. Friends, I was so devastated. I didn't know that it can be so hard. I was afraid that people will not listen, and people listened, and I was afraid that people were listening with all the things. But I created this show with one intention, is to show that business is possible. I'm interviewing people from all kind of, walks of life that have made millions in so many different ways.
Mhm.
And I just want to let everyone know with this show that there is a way that aligns perfectly with your current resources, skill set, and capacities.
Mhm.
And just be courageous and take that step. There are so many people who can teach you so much.
Awesome. Love that. And last, where are you currently finding inspiration?
Ooh, so what I did stop for now. I mean, learning is always something we need to commit to as entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
I think general in life, not only entrepreneurs. I
Mhm.
think learning is something that shouldn't be ending. But what I'm doing right now, I'm dedicating less time to constantly new learning, but leveraging what I have learned because there is
Mhm.
so much capacity in the things we know that we learned and should be, getting better at. May it
Mhm.
be marketing, may it be copywriting, may it be speaking, etc. And I'm currently finding my inspiration in Latin dance.
Yes.
It makes me really, feel alive, experience the
Mhm.
Caribbean the way I wanted it. And I have really the feeling that I found the lifestyle I truly want, and
Mhm.
I'm doubling down on that. And I have the
Nice.
feeling it makes me a different human.
I like it. All right. Well, Ivana, I have so enjoyed having you on the show in this conversation. And before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one last question. And that would be, what are three things you would like the audience listening or watching today to take away from our conversation?
Yeah. Seek clarity. Don't be afraid to get crystal clear on your picture what you want.
Mhm.
When we go beyond our basic needs, it can feel greedy to state what we want. The truth is, there is no judge, and it's out there for you.
Mhm.
Number two is stop listening to your third grade cousin opinion who doesn't understand your vision, your dream, your industry, and your work. It's just a waste of time and your energy.
Mhm.
And number three is if you have intellectual property, wisdom, knowledge, a diploma, experience that you can monetize and bring it to the world to be in service of humanity, then it is not only your calling, but also your responsibility to deliver it, because I strongly believe that the world needs more conscious leaders.
Love those. Thank you so very much. Again, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing such a great conversation, so much knowledge, so much information shared with the audience today.
Kyra, it is a privilege to have this conversation with you. Thank you for creating the space, the time, the platform, your dedication. And friends, if you're listening to this, we often forget to shout out to these hosts. Reach out to her, give her love, leave that review, leave that 5 stars, whatever it is, those comments, because only if we know that you are benefiting from this, we can create more of that. And I just want to put this little message out there. It is important and you do matter.
Thank you so much. I received all of that. All right. Well, stay tuned, everyone. All right. Well, let's just thank Ivana again for joining the show today. Wow. I love conversations like that. They are powerful. I love everything that she said about figuring out, how to walk in our purpose. I mean, I think anybody who listens here, we talk a lot about that on this show. It is my wish and hope that everyone would be able to work in their purpose because it's so very important. All right, so make sure you check out the show notes for the links to learn more about Ivana. Make sure you check out that free class and also make sure you reach out to her if you were listening to her or watching today and thinking, yeah, I vibe with that lady. I can get with that. So make sure you reach out to her. All right, so now if you want to learn more about Glow Up Girl, make sure you head over to our website, glowupgirl.com. You can listen to other podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest. We are now in the fall, so we'll be taking guests for early Q1 here pretty soon. Can't believe that we're already so close to the end of another year, right? Life comes at you fast, my friends. But yeah, go there if you want to go ahead and get on that list. Like I said, we'll start looking at guests later, probably in another month or so. All right, if you are on a platform where you can rate or review us, make sure you do that. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube, also make sure you do that. We are at Glow Up Girl. Go there, subscribe, like, leave a comment, all the things. Lastly, if you know someone that you think I should be talking to, or if there's a topic that you want me to find someone to talk to about, make sure you send me an email to hello@glowupgirl or a DM on Instagram @glowupgirl. All right, so that's it, my friends. All right, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in, and I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.